right now, crypto is only good for trading and making money. However, when we start building stuff, be it in a digital ecosystem or in the real world where crypto is actually a form of payment, that's where it gets interesting.
What's up, world, and welcome to another episode of the Super Investor Show. My name's Sean Harry, your host, and if you're like me, you're an investor in crypto and you realize it's good to learn from other people's mistakes as opposed to your own. And who else better than some of the smartest, wealthiest minds on this planet, who I have the fortune of sitting down and finding out what's their superpower and what's their weakness. And on today's show, we have Daniel Monk, the CEO of DPMonks. And now what's fascinating about DPMonks is that right now they're building on the XRP ledger, and constantly we hear with XRP doesn't have utility. Well, what we have to look past is it's beyond just Ripple, and we can't just look for Ripple to bring utility to the XRP token. And there's projects that are doing equally as exciting and important work, but we just don't know about them until it's too late and they're sexy and they've exploded. So let's bring up one of the creators of bringing massive utility. Daniel, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Jordan. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you very much for having me.
Likewise. And, I asked you off camera, what does the acronym actually stand for?
Yeah, so over the years, before I actually started the company, DPMonks Finance, I used to do a lot of research and a lot of different projects, and I couldn't find out who was actually running them. So as an investor, that was one of the first things I do for research.
Yeah.
So starting a company, I thought of all these great names, that it could be, but I wanted people to know who's in charge sort of straight away, because even though it's a company, we do side projects which are separate. So I put my name on it, and I was very apprehensive about that. Very apprehensive, but I thought that would be the best way to send a message so someone would know who's running it. And I'm very easily to contact on social media. I have all my channels open, so literally anyone can contact me anytime. I probably get about 10, 20 people ask me random questions every day. And I thought that was always very important in quite a dangerous ecosystem in blockchain technology, because there is a lot of bad stuff that goes on in crypto. And it's just nice to be able to reach out to someone who runs it and say, hey, Dan, how does this work? Or so that's what me.
And there's always something different, when you can see, e.g., you've come on the show today, you are a real person, and there is that sense of vulnerability, right? Because your name's out there. We know how of an internet sleuth community. That's a new term, sleuth, that I've learned recently. In terms of how advanced people in this space are with finding information out. So when you're coming forward saying, yeah, here I am, you can see me, you can hear me, and I know you may have an event coming up soon. I won't spill the beans yet. You can even film me. That brings a different layer of trust. So with that being said, Dan, thank you for that layer of trust. But what do you do day to day?
Yeah, so every day is a very, very busy day. We actually spend a lot of time doing developments and research on stuff that we actually haven't even launched to the public yet. There's three main areas we focus on. One is we run an NFT exchange, which is different to a traditional NFT exchange. At the moment, as it sits today, it runs on the XRPL, and we recently launched the capability for every single asset on the XRPL to be traded for NFTs. And it's absolutely everything from Bitcoin to Ethereum, all that's issued on the XRPL, whether you're small projects or your big projects. If they bring an NFT onto the exchange, they can choose to sell it in whichever currency they want. I think we're the first in the world to actually achieve something like that. When you're looking at about 8,200 plus types of currency.
Wow.
And at the moment that has been functioning quite flawlessly. We are still building on the exchange though. One thing I wish I'd done when we actually launched it after XLS 20 is put it down as sort of a beta sort of test platform, because there's still a lot being built on it. It's probably about 25% done at the moment. And And it took us about 4 months to figure out how to get all currencies running on there, along with other stuff we was building in between. And we needed that foundation because of some of the features that we have coming on later, which would be beneficial to anyone, be it a project or a user. They would be able to, you could almost say, add a use case into NFT trading, if you like. It just adds some functionality. So yeah, and it falls in line with being completely interoperable. The last piece of the puzzle we're doing to finish it as a traditional exchange is interoperability. So that will be live by the time this video goes out, and that means that every NFT on the XRPL and every currency or token that runs on the XRPL are all completely tradable on the exchange, and it is actually a 0% trading fee as well. And that was actually to fall in line with decentralized finance. So I have a strong belief in the future that centralized exchanges that do use a fee, and that, they're around today. There's lots of big ones, lots of small ones, and if that's their business model, that's completely fine. But one of my anticipations of the future was to go in line with decentralized finance. There'll be a stage, I'd imagine, where people could trade an NFT user to user, but they wouldn't need an exchange. So we wanted to make sure that we had any traditional moves like that at a 0% fee. And then the advanced stuff that we build in later, and we've got a feature that involves hooking. We've got a few other features, and they would be at a very low cost. And then that would be the revenue of the exchange. So we still fall in line with decentralized finance. The exchange doesn't hold any NFTs as well. I had to say this to someone today. So when you connect your wallet, it's actually all the NFTs that user has, he can then choose to display, but they're actually in his wallet. So whatever happens in the future, if Radical X was to, stop functioning, no one gets any damage because they still own their NFTs and they still own all their assets, which is what decentralized finance really should be. So that's one of the things we're doing. We are preparing quite a large another part coming, which we codenamed Project XD2. Which involves a non-custodial wallet and a few platforms that you would connect with that. Not to be a competitor with the Sum wallet or even the Sologenic wallet, the two that are out now. It's just we needed to build a wallet ourselves differently for what will come with federated sidechains in the future. It's a really big project. It's really big, and parts start coming online soon. Sort of in the next few months. And then the third one we do is working with my lead NFT artist, Ava, and a few developers from Cambridge and Oxford University. We are preparing a augmented reality game where you would use NFTs as characters that you can train and compete with each other in a game finance ecosystem. So my day-to-day basis is actually very busy.
I can tell. But you wouldn't want it any other way, right? And we said again offline, these are the problems we've asked for. Right, this is the life we've chosen. We have the beauty of choice and decision making, which then comes on to why did you decide to solve these problems? Ultimately, with your background, which sounds extensive, you could apply your skill set to almost any field. I guess 2 questions here: why the XRP ledger, and 2, more specifically, why are you building out these use cases?
So first one, for why the XRP ledger, we in 2020 the company actually started, and it started with me and a laptop, and then I started headhunting developers, personally talking to all kinds of designers and stuff, and I headhunted people who are a lot smarter than me in different fields, and we needed to work out, and it was mainly for Project XD2. That was the first one I designed, and we needed to make sure we found a blockchain that it could run on because of basically there'd be a lot of transactions on there. So we needed to make sure that there was low cost. And I first off went over to some Ethereum developers. I spoke to them and I was considering going over to Holochain. You might have heard of them, to build on there.
Yeah.
And I went to all kinds of different chains. And then I started reading into the XRP ledger a few years ago. And I was already an XRP investor, so I knew what XRP was. But then I started looking at what the ledger could do. And I found it quite favorable for what we wanted to achieve. And I was massively on side with, especially when the Sum wallet started, the way that they do the non-custodial wallet. And I was like, this is the new way of how finance is going to be.
Yeah.
So the XRP ledger was the one we went for. And why do what we do is a good question. So years ago, again, when I owned all kinds of different tokens on different blockchains in multiple different wallets, I'd always say, what's this cryptocurrency for? What do I do with this? Because at the moment, cryptocurrency is only used as a tradable asset to buy and sell. No, people only buy cryptocurrency to make more fiat. They don't actually buy crypto to make more crypto. You hope it goes up in value, and then you cash back into your pounds or your dollars. So I wanted to change that because crypto is a lot more than that. And I didn't just want to do it with what we was doing, and the XRPL being another good one for this, because it's already got the layer 3 solution where it can have Bitcoin run on it, Ethereum, it's similar to like wrapping as an issuance. Then we can utilize that, and we can change and build stuff to use on that. And I imagine right now, crypto is only good for trading and making money. However, when we start building stuff, be it in a digital ecosystem or in the real world where crypto is actually a form of payment, that's where it gets interesting. And it's not to dive away so much from fiat currency, but crypto has never, throughout human history, we've never had fixed assets. Bitcoin being the very first one. So everything before that, when you're trading all kinds of commodities and that, you can always dig up more gold. You can always find more salt. You can always print more money. But with blockchain technology, you can fix that asset, and we've never had that in human history. So it's another little signal that, hang on, are we going into a completely new financial infrastructure here? Because we've now got something that we can trade that isn't unlimited. And that's I admired that. So that's why when we issued our token on the XRPL and we Blackhold it, that's a fixed asset, and I find that absolutely fascinating. Where could we go with that? What could we do? Yeah. So we delivered it, and now my aim is to make it useful, utilize it more than just a tradable asset, and everything else that's on the network as well. So yeah, that's why we went on the XRPL, and that's why we're doing what we do. We just want to make crypto more utilized past trading.
I think that insight is so rare to hear, right? Because retail investors, even institutional investors, we stand on the side of making money. And ultimately, that's what every investor should be doing when they invest in a project, is you're looking to make more than what you initially invested. But then we don't actually understand why companies like yours choose the XRP ledger. And then once we actually hear, for example, why, because it's one thing, Ripple, for example, saying why, speed, finality, low transaction fees, etc., etc., etc. It's another when you actually hear from the customer side of things, because you are, in a sense, a customer of their product, which they use, and of course are big advocates for, is, oh, wait, that is why. And it's the best market research right here, Dan, so that when we start to see other companies coming on board, or even when we are trying to even persuade clients or even our own companies to build on XRP ledger, we get to speak to someone like yourself, where you're like, hey, I didn't have a bias. I looked at all the different chains, and this one made sense to me. Because it's so easy when we're in the community to be like, yep, this is the winner. This is the be all and end all. Would you call yourself a maxi, Dan?
I was years ago. I don't know now.
What were you a maxi in? And it may have not been crypto, maybe something else.
I've had such good I've had such good investments in my time. I invested in so many different things from about 2010 onwards, and I did used to love stock trading. I would have some long term. I would do short term trades. The first few years I wasn't that good. Don't get me wrong. I think that's the same for everyone. You have to pay to learn, if you like. I really did love investing in 2010, and it wasn't even about making money. I actually like learning about currencies, like the Forex market and stuff. I was fascinated by it. How something could go up and down in value, what makes it more valuable, and then it led me on to stocks, commodities, etc. I was in Tesla before it took off. I was in Ethereum before it went off a few years ago. I had a lot of good lucky ones, and then I would take profit. I'd take it comfortably as well. I wouldn't be someone and this comes through experience. When you're in profit, you're in profit, and if you want to take that profit, you can. A lot of people, I think they invest a small amount and they hope to hold on to it until it reaches dizzy heights, and then they just become a millionaire overnight. But
It used to be like that.
yeah,
Again, you have to sometimes pay to learn. I think you also have to pay with those naive experiences at the beginning, when you
yeah,
lay in bed doing when XRP is $4,000, which the time of this recording, it's not looking likely.
yeah.
But you do hope, hey, my £1,000 in is going to make me a millionaire when it hits this target.
It is, and that's why everyone's in crypto, is to make money. That is literally why everyone's in crypto. Where we're actually, like me and my team, we're actually building on the XRPL products that we want to we still make crypto valuable. Don't get me wrong with what we do, but it means it's an asset that can be used in a different way. So people will be buying it to use it. They won't be buying it to trade into fiat currency to cash out. So when we start adding all them different use cases, it's not just good for what we do, but it's also good for the ledger as well. And it can be quite attractive. So, yeah.
It certainly can. It certainly can. Now, Dan, we're going to make a lovely segue because we're talking about, of course, your experience and the wins you've had so far. But now we're going to delve into how did you even get there? So what would you say has been your greatest superpower in 2010 and still today?
I would say I'm quite comfortable with trading with no emotion. And I don't ever make a emotional decision, especially when I was doing lots of trades in like daily basis. So I spent a long time analyzing charts. So I remember it's about 12, 13 years ago, I used to pull up charts of historical data. So it'd be like from years ago. So it's already happened. I'm not predicting where it's going to. I'm going to see why did it do that? Why did it do that? Use learning about indicators and stuff. And that took a lot of time. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And then when I got to that point, I started using that knowledge to trade. I started making money, and I started making money that I didn't actually need. And then I started talking to other people who wanted to get into trading. Because, years ago, I couldn't find many people who were actually interested in it. But when I did, I used to teach them how to analyze a chart. And some people don't even believe that you can predict anything from looking at a chart. Some people just buy it and then sell it. But yeah, I used to look at patterns, and I used to do an awful lot on the indices like the FTSE 100, the 225 Japan. I would see these patterns and I could trade it in a few minutes and make quite a lot of it. And I really did enjoy it. I remember.
I can tell even how you're talking about it, how you're lighting back up.
I remember I used to get up at 1 a.m. And I'd go on some Japan stocks, honestly. And I used to do some spread bets on, so you don't pay tax on spread betting. And I used to put buys on at about 1 a.m. I'll go to sleep and wake up at 6 and I'll just sell. I wouldn't even look at what it was. It'd be a profit every time. It was almost like a cheat. It's it didn't happen all the time, but more often than not, make profit. And I used to laugh and be like, I'm making money in my sleep here, literally. So yeah, all that experience of trading, I loved it. I really did. I didn't like the way sometimes fundamental news would come out and sort of sways I didn't like. What's the best way to explain it?
Not market manipulation.
The news can sway.
The impact of news.
And then insider trading and that you could, it happens, and I didn't agree with it. It was very fair. But yeah, as time went on, I made some money, used that money to make more money, and I just ended up with this little bucket. And I didn't really have anything I wanted to do. I bought some crypto. I started learning about blockchain technology. It took me about 2 years to sort of understand most chains because it wasn't just.
So jump in there, Dan. Do you think it will take 2 years for most people to learn what you did about different blockchains?
I think it depends on your appetite of interest. I found Polkadot quite difficult to understand at first. Ethereum wasn't so bad, but then like Bitcoin, nice and simple. Can't write smart contract capability on it. It's just transactional. And it started learning about all these different chains, and I just thought, right, I want to to try and do something and change this. And there was a lot of scams years ago. There's still scams now, and it's it's sad to say. I hate it. I really do. And I thought, right, so let's try and utilize everything. So and help people. So yeah, I used that value to start a company. Done a lot of research on a lot of different things. I've had some great people work with me. I really have. And even on the XRP ledger, if you speak to anyone from the XRPL Foundation, even all the way from Wheats, the CEO of XRMM, all the way down, everyone I've ever spoke to, they've been so great, and they're really, really great developers, really smart people, but they're just normal people as well. And they just want a really good network. And that's been really nice to come onto, and I really appreciated that. Because sometimes we have questions. I'll speak to someone from the Ripple Foundation, and I'll be like, we can't get this working. Do you know anyone who can? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they go, no, we can't help you. So it's been one hell of a journey. I met some outstanding people, some really great people, and the XRPL community as well is quite infamous. And a lot of them are very heavy. XRP is the one, and I've always had the thought process of I like the network and I like the ledger. I think it's fair. I like the decentralized, the decentralization it has, the solutions you could build on it if you like, and that's what's got me here today. It's just sort of all naturally fell into place without actually aiming to do it from when I started trading.
Of course, but that lack of emotion, I think it's safe to say, isn't something that you had from day one. It's definitely something that's been developed, right, and harnessed over time through taking the losses, but also seeing those big runs up. Would you say that because you've made X amount of money in the past before, that your relationship with money has changed over time, over the past decade?
Yeah, I don't like money. Yeah, my relationship has changed. Yeah, I don't like fiat currency because I don't like the way that governments can just print more off, and it's everyone in society that suffers. And the government will point fingers and say, "Oh, this had to be done." They've made some big mistakes, and we need to change. And I don't like fiat currency at all. In fact, I don't even carry cash anymore. I refuse to. I actually try and convince people to take payments in crypto, even people who are not in it. I'll pay you in this, set this up, I'll pay you in this. I'm mainly because digital assets as well, and the XRPL is really good for this, is the fact that people hold on to their own assets with the wallet, and I think that's very important, especially going into the future, making sure that your value is in your hands. And with fiat currency, with inflation and that, not a fan of it, at all. So my relationship to money has actually changed quite a bit, where it's probably the same with everyone who listens on this show, because we live off fiat currency. You pay your bills with fiat currency, you do your shopping with fiat currency, but all we got to do is build a way to change the way payments work, where people can pay what they want to, and then we won't have to be reliant on fiat currency, and then that's where value will change. So no more fiat currency. I'm not a fan of it.
I can tell, and that passion is well placed, Dan. You're not alone. And I think the way I worded it correctly, and if we get into the real micro aspects of it all, which is we're talking about currency. When we talk about money, I know you can speak the language. What is true money? Right now, the British pound is not money, that's currency. And that can change because fiat, correct me if I'm wrong, fiat is Latin for imposed.
I think so, yeah. I think
imposed upon. So when you actually type in, don't take my word for it, Google it, type in fiat Latin to English translation, and it is forced upon or imposed. Not that they've been lying to our face, but ladies and gentlemen, you have to use that currency because it is forced upon you, and they make it no secret by calling it fiat currency. And once you start to speak the language, then you can start to play the game. So thank you, Dan, for that reminder that you hate fiat currencies, but you like money. Right?
I actually like value, and I talk to a lot of people on social media about this, because some people they go on about this. There's too many currencies floating around now. There's too much different types of value floating around. Can we use all that? And the answer is you can. but it is value. So I was having a conversation on social media a few months ago, and someone was saying, we're making cryptocurrency, it's making value out of thin air. And I made the case and said, well, actually, everything starts at zero. If you are a lumberjack and you cut down a tree, that piece of wood is zero unless someone is willing to pay for it. So everything in the world actually starts at no value until you find someone that wants to pay for it, which is the same in digital assets. It's just we're in a new era. It is really just starting. I mean, they've been around for just over a decade, but we're still in the very, very early days, especially with technology of what's coming. So yeah, value is what I'd say is.
Much better way to reframe it. And conscious of time, Dan, and so far, so much value you've given us already. I need one more. I need one more from you. And that one more is on the other end of the spectrum. What are you not so good at as an investor? What's your weakness?
My weakness, I would say, so I actually have a couple. I was thinking, which would be the best weakness to share? And it's actually something I can relate to in what we do in business as well. And it's something I've learned probably over the past 3-4 years, that even when you're doing something really, really good, you have to be such a strong focus on the boring stuff to get to the fun stuff. And I'd say sometimes when investing, if I don't have the appetite where I'm reading about something or researching, or I find it quite boring, my mind, I start losing it. Maybe that's just because of the way they've written stuff out. But my weakness is I'd lose focus where I should really be more. It's not attentive is the word, but I should be more focused, if you like, on the boring stuff, not just on the fun stuff. So yeah, that would be my weakness.
You're not alone, that's for sure. How are you overcoming that? I know previous guests we've had on who say the same, right? Whether they work as part of a team and they employ someone else who loves doing that boring stuff to them. How are you overcoming that?
Usually hire someone to do it for me.
I think there's no guilt there, right? There's no shame.
I have a manager, Will, right? He's brilliant, right? William is absolutely brilliant. He literally does the boring stuff for me. And he loves that stuff. And I hate it. And especially when it comes to looking at policies and stuff like that. We have to look at gambling policies in the UK. For some of the stuff, we have some coming on the exchanges because we have to make sure we abide by the law still. We don't want to be slapped for a fine later. And I'm reading through it, and I'm going, God, it's all a bit of a grey area. And he's like, I've got this, Dan, leave it with me. And he'll break it down, he'll read it all, and then he'll come back with like an assessment for me, and he'll be like, this is this and this, we're all good, and he does all the boring stuff for me, and he's really, really good at that. So I really appreciate having him around.
That's lovely, yeah. So shout out to you, Will, Chief Boring Officer, right?
Yeah, he'd love that, yeah, he'll be laughing.
Oh, brilliant. Well, look, thank you, Will. And I feel every team needs a Will, whether that's your spouse, your business partner, or an employee who understands that this is important, that this isn't my strength, but hey, you enjoy doing this, let me do your best work. So that's good to know, Dan, that you are human. And like you said, it's subjective. What's boring to you isn't someone else. And would you say to someone right now who can't afford to employ someone, right? But for example, let's just take the very simple case of reading white papers. We know it's important. It may be boring to someone. What would your advice be to them?
Get in touch with me. I'll get William to read it for you. But I suppose an honest answer to that would be, because there's a lot of factors when it comes to investing. It's not, obviously not. People look for a roadmap white paper. They like to look at if it's a stock or a crypto, how much is circulating, etc. So I'd probably say if you haven't got the attention to go through that white paper, maybe see if there's something else you can research on that does interest you, to secure your thought process to invest, if you like. I do find white papers very boring. If you've ever read Flair's papers, I have to read them twice by Hugo Fillion. Fair play to him. So yeah, I've had moments where I read white papers and I'm like, I need to read that again. Yeah. A top tip would actually be, especially for anyone new coming into investing or crypto or anything to do with trading, I always have a notebook and pen everywhere I go. So when I'm talking to someone or I'm reading something, I will write words down or bullet points, and that helps with my memory. It's just one of the things that I have. So that's my weakness, but that helps turn it into a strength. So anyone who's I'd say get bored quite easy, just have a notebook and pen, have a read, and then just jot some words down as like little triggers to help you understand what it is.
I think that's so key, right? Is don't be scared to look stupid over the fear of making money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I found that's probably the biggest barrier to people is they're scared to say, oh, wait, what does Blackhold mean? Actually, I'll ask you now, Daniel. What does Blackhold mean for people that don't know what you were referring to earlier?
So on the XRP ledger, when you issue a currency, in fact, you can, whenever you do anything on the ledger, if you like, but for issuing currencies, you would issue a certain amount. So we issued 10 billion of the XDX token, which is our sort of native currency, if you like. And after they were issued, the account they come from, we Blackhold. So it is impossible to make more of that currency, which turns it into a completely fixed asset. No more, that's it. And that was always very key for something which was in blockchain, because there's no point having blockchain technology if you can just keep creating more. You may as well just use fiat currency. So yeah, that's what Blackhold is. It's a fixed amount, can never be inflated.
Brilliant. Well, look, if you've hung around this long into the interview, everyone, you've just learned something new. and it is that experience, right, of course, this is native language to Daniel and I, but as soon as you ask once, you never have to ask again. And it may just make you money in the future. E.g., you may just now pick a project to invest in because you've seen they've been Blackhold, or you question if they are or not. So it is boring. You have to speak the language, but try and find a way. Daniel does so by writing down concepts that stick out to him to go research later on. And if you are in a position, team up with someone who finds what you believe is boring but important so you can get that task done. And Daniel, I always love to give this chance of the show to the guests to leave the audience with one last thing to remember, right? So whether that's you want them to come follow you on your journey, whether you want them to stop doing something with their investing strategy, this is your moment to let them know.
I'll tell you what I would say, which if anyone ever has a question, not even with just what we do, but with anything to do with trading, because on my Telegram, we actually discuss now and again what goes on around the world, what's going on with certain stocks, the news, etc. And if you're completely new into anything like that, you're more than welcome just to jump on and just ask. You know, our Telegram is completely open. You'll find it on our Twitter handle, and I did spend a lot of time a few years ago helping a lot of people new into crypto on the XRPL and sort of explain how it works. So if you're someone out there who just needs someone to lean on, I've got loads of other administrators in there, you know, who happily answer questions. Feel free to come on down so you don't feel like you're on your own. That would be my message.
Thank you for extending that out there. And we'll make sure that people have the opportunity to reach out to you with all the links down below, as always. Hell, I might just take you up on an offer as well.
Well, thank you very much, Jordan. You've been more than welcome. More than welcome.
Appreciate you, bud. And like I said to you, it's refreshing hearing a British accent. We have way too many Americans on this show. I don't mean that. If our next guest is another, don't want to come on. I'm sorry. I was just trying to impress Daniel. Look, Dan, I will give back time for your day to keep bringing value to a fantastic network and a fantastic community. With that being said, bud, hope to see you again soon. Be sure to hang around so we can catch up offline. For everyone at home, I hope to see you next week. Ciao for now.
Thank you very much, Jordan. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've had a lot of fun. And thanks, everyone, for listening.